When I think about race in Iowa, I get kind of excited because I feel like, as funny as this sounds, we have the chance to do it right.
Iowa can be very progressive, but it can also be very conservative, if that makes sense. So I feel that if you pull together different communities of Iowans on issues of race, you could really get to some quality answers or to some quality solutions, since there's so many different perspectives here. And I feel that a lot of Iowans are willing to engage in dialogue and are willing to discuss these issues and be respectful while discussing these issues. So I think that it's important for Iowa to be united and to kind of like set that tone and set that example, so that the rest of the world or the United States can really like have something to work for.
I basically started the project from the Drake end. It really is a collaboration between Drake University and my first year seminar class and Kyle Munson, the columnist for the Des Moines Register. So separately, he and I had been doing some work with public community dialogue that we thought, we both sort of mutually agreed that the work we were doing separately would be really powerful if we could actually team up.
I guess I'm a kind of a co-creator, and Carol sent me an email, and that's how it started. And so we teamed up and we brought more and more collaborators into this circle. And I guess I'm just one of the people trying to shape this partnership with Drake, with the community, with Iowans.
So on my end, I was teaching a course, I have been teaching a course for about 9 or 10 years now, called Talking with the Enemy, Dialogue in a Polarized Age. And the course was inspired by a quotation from journalist Bill Moyers, who said, "Democracy is a conversation." And I have always so loved that line, because I believe that if people can stay in conversation with one another, then there's no problem we can't surmount. And I really mean that. I think the breakdown of human relation and the ability to converse is at the root of a lot of our issues.
Dialogue is an effective way to communicate topics and different opinions on it, just for the basic reason of informing others. It's better to inform and help with open-mindedness than it is to be like, you're wrong, and start a fight or argument and lose friends.
It's kind of like building a house. Everyone put one brick to build a house, instead of taking out some others' bricks and just putting your bricks.
I mean, we're educating people about the history of racial inequality and race in general.
I hope by the end of the series that people can answer a few questions. One of the most important ones being, what do I really think about race, and what am I going to do to make things better?
It was the first dialogue I was in, so it amazed me how much people were there. I thought there were just going to be like 10, 15 people, but actually there were like 50, from 50 to 100 people. So it showed me how people are willing to talk and how much they care about it.
And what we wanted to do was kind of mimic the caucuses a little bit, because it had been fresh out of caucus season when that conference happened. And we wanted participants to get the experience of sort of a large scale moving around the room and just looking and seeing where other people stood on their positions, but then having dialogue topics that actually encouraged people to move from one group to another as they declared different affinities.
There was a moment where a couple of a couple of white men stood up and openly apologized on behalf of their own family or on behalf of them for taking part in white privilege and for, I guess, apologizing for, racism in a way. Not to say that they were solely responsible, their family was solely responsible, but the fact that they stood up and kind of made a public apology to and they took ownership of it, whether that be, considered, that was, it was their fault or not, but it was just something I've never seen before. So I guess that was something that I will always kind of take with me and always kind of remember. At that dialogue, the numbers really shocked me. I believe one of the statistics, and I don't know if verbatim, but one of the statistics was that the annual income for an African American family, average annual income was $12,000, and the annual average income for a Caucasian family was over $150,000. That difference is astronomical, and just having those numbers matched up with my lived experiences, that was just an eye-opener for me. I knew those things, but it just I didn't know how bad it was, I guess.
We had people from just down the street in the neighborhood there. We had a former governor in the gym, a whole range of people. But I remember there was an exchange. So there's, as part of this whole conversation about race in America, there's been this debate around Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter, all lives matter, what does that mean, even within the black community? And so here I am sitting there in the gym watching this play out between, a hip-hop artist from Des Moines and, Brittany, one of the key people on our planning team. And you saw then, kind of the schism even within the black community about how do we rally our own community and the nation to make positive change and try to pull out the roots of this deeply entrenched systemic racism. And you saw it right there. You had one the hip hop artist saying, we've got to say all lives matter because it hasn't been just black people that have helped me in my life to get me where I am today. But you had Brittany, and others saying, but you're missing the point. We're saying Black Lives Matter because the deck has been stacked against us for so long that this is the message we need to really affect change.
It really struck me how that we just basically need to work together, and not even the people with the power and the people in the community, but the people within the community need to work together as well. We need to come together, acknowledge we are all different. Acknowledge we have different thoughts, different beliefs, different values, different morals, and different opinions. So we need to acknowledge that, put those to the side, and we need to come together as a collective whole.
I think the first step is just to be aware. And you gotta kind of spread awareness. So but just by getting educated or finding things out or, listening to the presidential debates or you gotta start even at the senators and your local elected officials. I think just spreading awareness would really help people get kind of a fuller understanding of what this is.
It's probably more of a beginning. You start with a small group and you make them aware of something, and then everybody there kind of goes out and does their own, actions after that, and it sort of just grows and grows from there to become, a very large movement with a lot of momentum.
How do you face race?
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 How do you face race?